Well, welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and for the first part of our program today, I want to just take a few moments and, say thank you and maybe give you a little bit of a video tour. This is our first broadcast out of our new facility, and we are far from being done, but we are moved in. And I want to say thank you for your patience. We were really hoping hard to have got everything put together over the last 5 days and be on the air by tomorrow. But the challenges being what they are, we just couldn't get it all put together. And we are on the air today. And let me tell you, this has been no easy task whatsoever. And I want to say to you, our listeners and our viewers, thank you so much for your patience. Thank you for believing in what we do here at the Dove and the people that are being ministered to through the programming here at the Dove. Thank you for your prayers and support to get us to where we are. The building is certainly a dream come true. There's no question about that. And yet at the same time, it's a tool that God has provided for us to do more in what He's called us to do in the way of in broadcasting and in digital media and getting the gospel out. And you and your support and your endurance and your patience makes all of that possible. And I also want to say thank you to our crew behind the scenes. Some of our engineers were here as late as 11 o'clock last night, and then they turned around and they were back in here at 5:30 this morning. We've had engineers and volunteers here over the last 5 days, putting in some very long hours trying to get everything done and get back up and running. Those of you listening on the Dove radio, we understand that there are some little bit of problems there with the sound, and we are working on that. Probably we'll have it cleared up in the next day or so. Thank you for your patience. But you got to remember, when we moved into our old building, we were hoping to only be there for maybe a year or two at the most, and we ended up being there just about 11 years. And when we moved in there, we were one radio station. Well, 11 years later, the Dove has grown into a small FM network of 4 radio stations, 6 translators, and 2 television stations, and on cable, Roku, and over the internet. Well, to pick up all of that equipment and disconnect it and reconnect it into a new facility is a huge undertaking. And we still have a lot of challenges before us. And I will say this only as a way of asking you to continue to pray for us. In the midst of all of this, we've had some unbelievable challenges to personal issues, with things here technically, and a lot of things that we planned didn't work, we thought would work, didn't work, and in some cases they've just flat out attacks from the enemy. But I've learned through the years, if you're going to step out by faith, first of all, it does require faith. If you're going to walk by faith, guess what? It requires faith, trust in God, and you're going to get pushback. The enemy doesn't like anything that advances the gospel, and we've had our challenges in that area, believe me. And I'm not going to sit here and list them all, but some of them were quite serious. And we still have some big issues in front of us to get done. But we're here, and it is an unbelievable dream come true. After 30 years of renting, the Dove now has its own home. And this was made available to us by a family that's just been such a blessing. And here we are, we're in the facility, we're out at the airport, which is very interesting. We've actually taken an airplane hangar that housed Learjets and private airplanes, and we converted it into radio and television studios. And in many, many ways, it has been ideal. And so those watching on the Dove TV, you're seeing a little bit of a video of what is going on and what we've been doing. We still have some big walls to build inside this building here to continue to frame in the television studio. The radio facility is finally up and running, and that was our biggest challenge. We had an awful lot of issues dealing with getting the audio to work and getting the signal put back on the air and get all the computers to talk to themselves, and there's still a lot of cleanup work in that area. We've had 2 gentlemen give of their time to come in and build the set for us. Bill Earl and Wayne Williams have been here giving of their own personal time working hard, building the walls behind me and getting it so that we have a TV set. And it's not quite done yet. In fact, it's far from being done, but it has been framed in. We've had other people help us with some lighting issues, and we're getting that all worked out. So it's been quite the project. And we're here. We're very excited about it, and we still have a lot of work to do to get settled. Our control room is up and running. The master control room for the television is up and running. And that was a huge job. I don't know how many computers we have in there, but we have so many computers, and I didn't even count them all. They're all over the place. All of that stuff has to be coordinated to make it work. And so it's up and running, and we're pretty excited about it. So what does this mean? Where do we go? What's next? And we believe in our hearts that the building is a tool to create more content, to get more programming out. We have great guests who have had huge response, and we want to start utilizing those opportunities and those relationships to develop more programming that can be exported to other television outlets literally around the world. And with our United Christian Broadcasters affiliation, there are opportunities now for us to get our programming all over the world. So we're not the only broadcaster, we're not the only Christian broadcaster by any means, but we have found a niche that we believe that God's called us to be a part of. And the response has been phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. How many people are watching the Dove, listening to the Dove, listening to the programs, from the teaching programs to the music to the short features, and certainly all the various programs that are on the Dove TV. All of this combined means that we are touching lives and ministering to people who have maybe given up, have no hope, life's tough, they're going through a myriad of issues, from health issues to financial issues to relationship issues, and we just want to provide programming that can minister to people and where they may be. And let us not forget the scripture that kind of ties all this together. It's found a couple of places in the Bible, but Romans 10:20, if you have a Bible, you can go to Romans chapter 10, look at verse 20, and it says this: I was found by those who were not seeking me, and I manifested myself to those who did not ask. Now, how does that happen? How do people find God when they're not even seeking Him? Well, they're flipping through the dials, whether it's radio, television, online, through the YouTube libraries, whatever. They're just going along through all of these platforms, and God matches their life and their need with the content of the program at the right time. And while they're watching and listening, God manifests His love for them through the content of the program. I believe one of the great missionary tools of our day is media. The mission field, media is the mission field in America to reach as many people as we can with the gospel. And that's what we're here, and this is what the building's all about. So we're pretty excited how the Lord has provided this. Around me, you'll see, if those watching on Dove TV, in fact, looking right over my right shoulder, you'll see a bunch of just metal framework. And it just shows you walls with nothing on them or in them. And so we have a lot of work there to do. We have a lot more lights to put in. We barely got on the air this morning because of the lighting situation inside that. We'll work on that today. And we have a lot of more work to do with computers and of course the radio as well. But it is up and running, and I want to say thank you. So we are delivering signals now back to the coast and on all the television programs. So the other thing is that I just want to remind you of, that as we move forward, is to say thank you for your faithful support. When we started this project, in fact, I look back, I did a little bit of a recap yesterday. I was sitting at my desk going through a lot of things, and I realized that the beginning of this process with this particular building started just about a year ago. It was in August when we first were given the opportunity to think and pray about this particular facility. And so here we are a year later, we're in it. And so that was a long process with all the things that we had to do to get it done, legally get it done, and to accomplish that. And your support helped us do that and maintain that. When we put this whole thing together, the budget, when we put the budget together, when we put the plans together, when we sat down and looked at how we were going to map out moving the radio side of the broadcast and then the television side of the broadcast, and then mixed into all of that is the internet and Roku and the cable systems and all of those things. We looked into that. We mapped it all out, and believe me, what we started out as a plan and what we ended up being the fact were two different things. And it's amazing how God will walk you through something and then make you become more dependent upon Him as you move down the road. And that is the case. We are in still need of some support on finishing this thing off. As you can imagine, some things came in under budget, some things came in over budget. So that is still a need. But just pray that we get all the technical things worked out. We have a lot more to do. I'm going to take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll show you a little bit more video of what's going on here and try to explain it to you. And then we have a great guest coming up in a little bit. Looking forward to having Erick Stakelbeck with us, who is the terror expert with CBN News. We'll be talking to him live coming up in just a few moments.
Hi, I'm Paulina and I work at theDove TV. Did you know that when you support theDove TV, you have a profound impact, not only in our community, but around the world? It's your continued support that takes the inspiration and hope in the programs we produce and makes them available to the thousands of people who are watching these videos online every week. Help bring encouragement and hope to our valley and beyond by making a secure online donation today at our website, thedove.us.
All right, we're back. Just giving you a little bit of an update here at the Dove, and I want to say thank you for your patience. Today is a very exciting day. Today is the first broadcast out of our brand new home. In fact, our permanent home. The Dove finally has found the landing place. I don't know if you ever pay attention to Noah. Read the story. He sends the dove out and keeps coming back, and finally it came back with an olive branch in its beak, kind of giving an indication that he found land. Well, that's what the Dove has done. The Dove has finally come back with a permanent home, and after 30 years of renting facilities and moving the Dove, well, this will make the 8th move in 30 years. The Dove has got a home, and we are in it, and we still have a lot of work to do, but we are here. I want to take a few moments for those watching on the Dove TV and just show you a little video of some of the things going on and see if I can maybe explain. But what you're looking at for those watching on the Dove TV, if you're listening on the radio, you'll see that it's a big building with 20-foot or 26-foot ceilings in it, which is ideal for television. We had to put in some metal framing for sets, and we had 2 gentlemen volunteer their time and their talents. They're just very talented to do that. There is a picture of our new television control room, and you can see how many computers it takes to pull off the morning show. And so that's been all set up now and is operating. There's kind of a upper view looking down, not only on the television studio, but over towards where we have a bunch of cubicles for the staff. And each staff member now has their own space, which was not the case for many, many years. And they actually have enough space where they can do something privately and with some quiet. There's just shows more of the television set being made, and now we're looking at the radio studio, which ended up being a huge project and very challenging for all of our engineers to make all of that work. And it's now on the air. We'll spend the next several days getting the room cleaned up and, you know, things kind of put back together. But when you're wiring these things together, it's very, very busy work and very tedious work. And our satellite tuning in, they were working on it up until about 10 o'clock last night, trying to get the satellites tuned in. And then the weather hit. So we still have that work yet to do today, and try to get all the satellite dishes have been moved over, but getting them tuned in is still an issue. But thank you so much. Really, from all of us here at the Dove, thank you for making this happen. we're still about, I'm going to guess, I haven't looked at it in the last couple of days, I'm going to say we're probably around the $12,000 mark below our budget and trying to make all this happen. We had some challenges, we had some things go down, we had some things that didn't make it through the move, they broke, and we had to replace them. Once you get into a place like this, there's always little things that you didn't think about that have to be done. And we still have 2 huge walls around the television studio that have to be built in order to control the environment inside the TV studio. So if the Lord is leading you to help us in that area, we could certainly use your help. This was done very, what's the word I'm looking for? Thin, I guess is the best way to do it. We did this remarkably well, considering what it cost to do it and what it could have cost to do it. And so we pinched every penny, believe me, and then some. And so for us to be $12,000 down is a big issue. It's a big, big issue. So if the Lord's leading you to help us, you can call us anytime at 541-776-5368 and let us know what the Lord's leading you to help us. You can certainly go online at the Dove's website. That's totally secure and it's safe and it's real simple to use at theDove.us. And you're welcome to come by, but we are a little busy trying to get settled. But you're welcome to come by, and if you want to come by and support us, we're at the airport, 2070 Milligan Way. You can do that. But what we're trying to do is get all this work done over the next several weeks. Now we still have a lot to do, and then I would say sometime somewhere in October we probably will have an open house, and for a couple of days, and let you come on in and see what the Lord has done. So we are really grateful for His provisions, and we are very, very grateful for your patience and your support. And folks, the building isn't the end all. The building is a tool to do more what God called us to do. In fact, we're very excited to get it completed so that we can get on doing some more production of content that will literally go around the world. And so thanks for being a part of our mission and believing in the mission and believing in the vision that the Lord has given us. So, but we could use your support. It was a lean summer, to say the least, and then on top of that, moving with all the challenges we had, we're down a little bit. So if the Lord's leading you to help us, only do what God tells you to do. Because I always say this, make sure it's God leading you to support the Dove, and make sure it's a joy for you to support the Dove. Don't take from your church. Don't take from any other ministry the Lord has you involved in. If you're called to support another ministry, you do that first. Whether it's Youth for Christ or Hearts with a Mission or the pregnancy centers or Foundations for Recovery, and the list goes on and on and on. Wherever the Lord has you involved, you support that first. But if the Lord's leading you to help us, we can certainly use your help, and you can call us or go online or come on by, all right? All right, we'll take another break. When we come back, first of all, we're going to share with you an interview that Steve did with David Foster, and then after that, we're going to Skype in from the CBN News headquarters in Virginia. We look forward to having with us Erick Stakelbeck, who will give us an update of what's happening with all the terrorism around the world.
Hi, I'm Daniel and I work at theDove TV. You know, compared to Portland, Seattle, and LA, Medford might be considered a small market, but at theDove, we're excited about the opportunity to make a big impact right here in our community. And you help make that happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us now by making a secure online donation at our website, theDove.us, or by phoning 541-776-5368.
Welcome back. Well, earlier our own Steve Johnson had a chance to talk to David Foster, who's the author of Love Hunger. It's a fascinating story with an incredible ending. So let's join David and Steve.
David Kyle Foster was a young actor, like so many, heading off to find out what he could do in Los Angeles, and his road took some very interesting turns, and he's with us today. I want to get into his story because right now it took him to being the founder of Mastering Life Ministries. David, it's good to have you with us. Thanks for joining us today.
It's great to be here. Thanks.
All right. Now, I don't want to get anything wrong here, so I was right about you heading off to Los Angeles, but there's a whole lot behind that and the motivation why you were heading there. How many years ago was this?
Well, I went to LA in 1773.
Well, that was a long time ago, yeah.
1973.
73.
And I was in Hollywood for 7 years.
Now, a lot of kids head off to Hollywood and all the rest, but you had something you were trying to get away from, wasn't it? I mean, where were you living at the time before you left to Hollywood?
Well, I had been in college, and I had been heavily on drugs, several suicide attempts. So I was mentally and emotionally very much a basket case. So after college, I just decided to go out to Hollywood to chase the fantasy of being an actor.
How'd that work out?
It's shockingly, I got the first part I read for, and it was a starring role in the movie. So it was very quickly successful. And that sustained itself. I got a second starring role in another movie and several featured roles. I had lots of national commercials. I had some of the best agents in town. So that side of things was going really well. It was the other side that was the problem. It was the secret life that I was living as a male prostitute.
Did that begin to occur when you got to Los Angeles, or what was the sequence of events here?
It began at the end of college. I was begging God to take away my homosexual attractions. I went to talk to him at a pier in the town I lived in, and it turned out to be where male prostitutes hung out. And so I just, despite God for not helping me, I decided to do it. And when I got in the car with the first man, he turned to me and told me that I was beautiful, and that I was handsome, and that I was strong and masculine, and all the things that I had longed for my father to tell me. When this man said those things to me, I instantly became addicted to hearing more of that and continuing on with the prostitution.
So do you see it as the basis of the problem you had with your father that helped feed into this, obviously? Was it more than that?
Yeah, there was a number of factors, as there are with any homosexual. I did not bond emotionally with my father. He was very severe and distant, and he did not hug, he did not affirm, he did not tell me he loved me. He thought he was doing the right thing because that's how he had been brought up, and the fear that he had was that he would create pride in me if he affirmed me. So he thought he was doing the right thing. For me, it was exactly the wrong thing. So I grew up with a desperate father wound and need for affection from a father figure. I also had a fear of women that was created by a woman in our family environment who looked like Marilyn Monroe, but she would mercilessly tease me about girls and girlfriends and things. So it instilled in me a fear that a sexually mature woman was going to humiliate me as a little boy. So I had this fear of woman. I had this need for male affection, healthy male affection. Then I had a pornography problem, and then puberty hit. So all of these things were clashing all at once.
And then you end up going to school, like you said, in college, and you take all of that with you to Los Angeles. I can't imagine that would have helped any of those situations.
No, I had to hitchhike into Hollywood to look for an agent and to go on auditions, and I was propositioned every time I was picked up. There's a lot of predators in Hollywood, and so I was instantly thrust back into the decision whether to continue that and those affirmations that I desperately needed or not. And I decided to continue doing it just because I was angry at God, and I needed those affirmations. On the acting side, even though I was successful, you get one great acting role out of 25 auditions. So most of it is rejection, even if you're being successful. So there I was.
All right, I want to mention, we're talking with David Kyle Foster. He's the author of a book called Love Hunger, and I notice that you have a few with you behind there. What is it that you want people to know about, especially as this ties in with Mastering Life Ministries? There's a lot to your story. Tell us what we should know about that brought you to the point where you call this a harrowing journey from sexual addiction. From where you were then to where you are now, how'd you get there, and then to write this book as well?
Well, I was an actor for 7 years. I 3 times people tried to murder me when I was hustling on the streets. And so I had some experiences of God rescuing me from death in such a way that I knew it was God. And I tell those stories in the book. And so even though I was hating him and doing everything I could to spite him, he kept rescuing me, and it put into me some hope that maybe he would love me after all, maybe he would forgive me after all that I'd done. I had porn shot at my house. I was deeply addicted to pornography and sex addiction and things. And so after 7 years of acting in Hollywood, I realized that people flocked around me when I was having a success. They disappeared when I wasn't. The love I was looking for wasn't going to be attained that way. So sex was out, fame was out, fortune was out. So I turned back to God. I briefly followed a guru because I didn't want Christianity. I had a negative taste in my mouth over that. So I was hoping this guru was really the incarnation of Jesus that he claimed to be. Long story short, he did not turn out to be a reincarnation of Jesus Christ. So I got on a plane and flew to Israel to find Jesus in 1980 and found him there. I was in the Garden of Gethsemane, and I was asking God, my guru can do miracles and you can do miracles, and how's somebody like me supposed to know who's really of God? What's the signpost for that? And he spoke into my spirit really clearly, and he said, who proved his love for you? And I had just been where he'd been whipped and dragged the cross and been crucified, and his proof that he loved me was right there in my face, a real demonstration to the max. Then I looked at the Buddha and Krishna and Muhammad and all these other people that I had become enamored of, and none of them had done anything of the sort. Only Christ had proven his love for me by going through all that torture for me. And then he proved that he was God by raising from the dead. So I flew back to LA, told everybody in the ashram that I was living in, they were following the Antichrist. They kicked me out the street, understandably, and I ended up at Hollywood Presbyterian Church asking the pastor, what am I going to do? I'm bound by sex addiction. I've been sleeping with 2 and 3 people a night for 10 years, and I can't just stop. I don't have the power. And he essentially said to me, that's good, you realize that. Now let's ask Jesus to do this for you. Why don't you call upon his power? And that was the greatest lesson I could have learned. And I was just newly saved. Nobody had gotten to me yet to tell me what God couldn't do. And so I just believed him. And I embraced the idea that God was going to come into my life and take away the power of sin for me as I remained in relationship with him. And that's how I got out.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. So you went all the way to Jerusalem to find Christ in the Garden of Gethsemane, and then
Yes.
you come back, and that's an amazing thing. What at that point then? Did you restart your life, or what happened? Because it's got to be a tough transition that you're making there as well, is it not?
Yeah, well, I didn't want to get fooled by another false prophet again. So I decided I'd go to a seminary for a year and get a biblical studies certificate or something like that. And so the pastor at Hollywood Pres recommended Trinity Evangelical Divinity School. I went there. This millionaire found out about my story. The guy who founded Tropicana Orange Juice found out about my story, and he paid for my whole 3-year MDiv
Wow.
So the next 3 years after getting saved were spent deep in the Word of God.
Now, through that then, did you found Mastering Life Ministries, or how did this come about? And tell us what it does, actually. But is that how you got into the ministry business, so to speak?
Yeah, I thought I was going to be a pastor, but nobody wanted a single pastor. They all kept telling me, come back when you're married. So I ended up in parachurch ministry. I worked for the 700 Club. I worked for YWAM. And then I started Mastering Life Ministries. As I was being healed and as God was showing me the way out for this problem and that problem and the other, I had a multitude of them. I started writing this stuff down, and finally I wrote it into a book called Sexual Healing, which came out in 1995. And that was what really founded Mastering Life Ministries, and it funded Mastering Life Ministries, the sales of that book, in 1987. And then God called me to be very honest about my sexually broken past. And I realized that as bad as my past was, it set other people free to confess their sins, which weren't as dark. And I realized I was being called to do this as a living.
Wow. And so how long have you had this ministry going on?
Well, since 1987. Okay. We've done radio shows. For the last 7 years, we've done a TV show called Pure Passion, and people can still watch it online at purepassion.us. And we have it all divided up by topic, so you can go quickly to the show of the topic of your interest, whether it's sex trafficking or sex addiction or homosexuality or whatever. And then in the last year, we've been working on a documentary, and I'm documenting the fact that Jesus Christ can set anyone free from anything. And I'm starting with homosexuality. And I brought together 29 voices from the gay lifestyle, testifying to the fact that Jesus Christ has brought healing into their life, many of whom are now married and with children. So there's real and lasting healing for this.
Wow. Well, tell you what, keep in touch with us. Let us know when that comes out, and we'll talk to you about that production as well. When might we see that at the theaters or elsewhere?
That will be out in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah, the website for that is suchweresomeofyou.org.
Okay, well, we may be talking to you sooner than we thought then. That's great. Let me mention the book again. It's called Love Hunger, A Harrowing Journey from Sexual Addiction to True Fulfillment, and that's by David Kyle Foster. Thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks.
Fascinating story, to say the least. Well, coming up, what an honor to have with us on, kind of an inaugural broadcast out of our new studios, Erick Stakelbeck from CBN News. He's kind of the terror expert of the world. He's going to give us an update coming up in just a few moments.
Hi, I'm Paula, and I work at theDove TV. Every day we get letters and emails from people who've been encouraged, blessed, and challenged by the programs on theDove TV. But we couldn't do it without you. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to bring inspiration and hope to our community by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or call us at 541-776-5368.
Welcome back, and with us today is our good friend Erick Stakelbeck. He is the host of The Watchman. You see it right here on theDove TV, 8 o'clock Wednesday evenings. And of course, you see him on CBN News. You see him every once in a while. He sneaks over to Fox. I don't know if they pay him more over there, but he's over there. But he's made it big time. He's here on theDove this morning. Hi, buddy.
Hey, Perry. Great to be back with you. Congratulations on the new set.
Hey,
I hope to be sitting on it with you one day.
Well, one day, yeah, you're going to come out here, but right now we're a set in the making. You know that very well, I'm sure.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, well, give us an update. We got a lot going on here. Give us your thoughts on ISIS right now. What's happening over there in Iraq?
Yeah, Perry, I've heard there's a few things going on in the Middle East right now. I don't know, but yes, the Middle East is on fire. What else is new? But really on fire in a way that it hasn't been in some time, Perry. I think we're reaching a dangerous new level, and really it starts right now with ISIS. They call themselves the Islamic State, ISIS. So what they're doing right now is they're going on a rampage across Iraq, Perry. They're massacring Christians. They're massacring religious minorities. They're beheading people. They are crucifying people. Mass beheadings, by the way. They are raping women and children and selling them into slavery. They are enforcing a brutal, brutal, brutal version of Islamic Sharia law across all the areas where they are conquering. And basically, Perry, they've conquered a massive amount of territory in the very heart of the Middle East, in Iraq, in Syria. They're pushing into Lebanon. They're threatening Jordan. They're threatening Saudi Arabia. But for our viewers, Perry, the most important thing is they are threatening the United States. Just before I came on with you, Perry, I read a piece that ISIS leaders recently said that America is going to drown in blood. So their ultimate target, after they consolidate power in the Middle East, is the United States. And make no mistake, this is a terrorist army. Over 10,000 hardened jihadists with advanced U.S. military hardware that they seized when they defeated Iraqi forces. This is a serious, serious threat, and many Westerners are traveling there to join up with this group, Perry, and when they come back here, all bets are off.
All right. Listen, we can talk about our borders and some of them crossing the borders and all that. But why is the world, Eric, tolerating this? It's one thing that we got a bad administration tolerating this. Why is the world tolerating this?
You know, it's a terrible thing, Perry, because the world howls when a civilian is killed in Gaza. After Hamas uses a civilian, a woman, a child, as a human shield, Israel goes to extraordinary lengths not to kill civilians. Unfortunately, in the heat of war, this happens against a terror group like Hamas. The world howls. The UN condemns Israel. They want a war crimes tribunal, et cetera, et cetera. But when ISIS is massacring Christians in the heartland, the birthplace of Christianity, ancient Christian communities, the world basically yawns. And what a sad thing, a sad moral equivalency, Perry. It reminds you of the 1930s. We have this great evil gathering again in the form of radical Islam, whether it's ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Iran, Hamas, Hezbollah. It's gathering. They're coming. They're telling us what they're going to do, just like Hitler told us what he was going to do. And just as in the 1930s, we're turning a blind eye. We want it to just go away. We believe, Perry, here in the West, that if we're nice to the radical Islamists, they'll be nice to us and leave us alone. If we sacrifice Israel, then look, when they're done with Israel, they'll pack up their bags, they'll go home, they'll leave us alone. What flawed thinking. Hitler started with the Sudetenland, with Austria, then he moved into Poland, and then his goal was world domination. The radical Islamists have the same plan.
What about Kurdistan? It is pushing back, and they are taking some territory back. Are we supporting them enough?
No, we're not, Perry, and it's shameful. As an American, it's shameful. The Kurds, God bless them, have been some of the most loyal allies to America in the Middle East, one of the only allies to the United States in the Middle East. They're fierce fighters. They have a proud history. They're strong people, but they are severely under-equipped. They're outgunned, Perry, by the likes of ISIS. As I said, ISIS is rich. ISIS, by some accounts, is rolling in billions of dollars. And again, that heavy U.S. military hardware, tanks, Humvees, anti-aircraft missiles that they've seized as they've conquered territory throughout Iraq and Syria, by the way, taking some of that Syrian military hardware. So look, the Kurds are outgunned right now. They're begging the U.S. They've been begging for months for U.S. help. And the Obama administration has not stepped up to the plate. There's been a trickle now of assistance. Some U.S. advisors are helping out. Look, if the Kurds have the weaponry, they are tough enough, they're well-trained enough to defeat ISIS, without a doubt. But we are not doing enough to arm these folks. And if Kurdistan falls, it's real trouble. Because after ISIS conquers Kurdistan, they drive south to Baghdad.
Is our airstrikes doing any good over there at all?
They are, but they're too limited, Perry. They are. They've absolutely had an effect on ISIS's advance into Kurdistan. It pushed ISIS back a bit, but these are limited pinprick airstrikes. Mm-hmm. You need a comprehensive strategy, a comprehensive plan to crush ISIS now. Before it's already out of hand. I can't say before it gets out of hand, but before it hits us here. What happens over there matters over here. As I said, Perry, look, they can target U.S. embassies and consulates throughout the world, target U.S. interests abroad. But remember, dozens of Americans, according to U.S. intelligence, have traveled to Syria and Iraq to join this group. These are folks with U.S. passports. They are U.S. citizens. They will return here one day. And when they come back here, Perry, they're not going to get a job at a gas station or go back and finish their bachelor's degree. No. These guys are going to come back hardened jihadists with plans to strike here. That's why this is such a central threat to America right now, and we need to do something about it.
All right, we could talk all day on this. Let me skip over to Israel and Gaza. They're in a little bit of a lull at the moment. Do you expect that to stick, or do you think that'll erupt again?
I think there's a very good chance it could erupt again. Israel wants this lull to continue, obviously, but Hamas feels like its back is against the wall. I think this was a very successful operation for Israel, Operation Protective Edge, over the past month and a half. They weakened Hamas. They destroyed many of those Hamas terror tunnels. They took out a good chunk of Hamas's rockets, although they have thousands of rockets left. I think Hamas is hurting right now. They want that blockade of Gaza lifted. And it seems like Hamas, the big question right now, Perry, is who's calling the shots in Hamas? If it's Hamas's military wing, they're all jihad all the time. They're not looking for any kind of compromise with Israel. So what we could see, maybe more likely, we could see a massive eruption, but we could see a war of attrition, so to speak, Perry, where, look, Hamas every day fires dozens of rockets, and Israel goes in and takes out different rocket launching sites in Gaza, but it's not a massive full-blown confrontation where Israel's going back in on the ground. Kind of a war of attrition is what we could see shaping up. And by the way, John Kerry, our Secretary of State, is apparently going back to the Middle East next week. Who knows what's going to happen with him? His last trip there was obviously a debacle. And what a sad day, Perry, when Israel, the Palestinians, no one is listening to the United States anymore.
Yeah, and we saw Netanyahu basically said, don't double guess me again.
Right. Exactly. John Kerry, I mean, this is a guy who he's reaching out, Perry, to Qatar, and Turkey. Turkey and Qatar are Hamas's two biggest supporters other than Iran. So I'd say they're slightly biased in those ceasefire talks. It's crazy. It's just crazy what this administration's doing. It's like they are willfully taking the side of Islamists. I've told you that before, Perry. I wish I could fly on the wall in these White House briefings when the president is talking about national security and their Middle East strategy, because it defies explanation. It defies all explanation to isolate Israel, to isolate the Egyptian military, to isolate the Kurds, and to embrace the likes of the Muslim Brotherhood, Turkey, Qatar.
Eric, it appears, though, in spite of this administration's bent to support the wrong side, that more and more Americans are beginning to realize what this is really all about and now oppose the administration's policy or lack thereof. So there seems like the word is getting out, and this could show up in the election cycle. You would hope so, Perry. Look, I would have thought the word would have got out, I don't know, in fall 2012, in the wake of Benghazi, right? When, look, the election was 2 months after Benghazi. President Obama was reelected. I mean, to me, if Benghazi wasn't a wake-up call, but now in this second term, and Perry, this is what I feared. This second term of his, Barack Obama, everything is unraveling now. Russia, Ukraine, Putin's on the march. To Hamas, Gaza, Iran going nuclear, ISIS establishing a caliphate throughout the Middle East. Everything is unraveling. Even here in our backyard in Missouri, things are unraveling. So this is what I feared. And look, if Americans are paying even scant attention to what's going on, then they are beyond alarmed, and it should have a major impact in the fall midterm elections for sure. Eric, are you seeing any, I'm hearing some stories here and there, and I can't validate them, of perhaps even divine intervention when it comes to Israel. Some of the rockets got blown off course and ended up in the Mediterranean. Is that true? I've seen some of those stories. I can't verify it firsthand, Perry, but I have seen some of those stories. I found it highly interesting, to say the least, because the history of warfare with Israel, 1948, 1967, 1973, Israel's major wars, it's a history of miracles. I mean, you talk to people who fought in those wars, and I have, and they'll say, you know, God supernaturally redirected missiles, rockets. A sandstorm rose up in the faces of our enemies. Also, minefields were cleared. All sorts of incredible, incredible stories of God's hedge of protection over Israel, and over the people of Israel, over the Jewish people. Look,
It's such a David Ben-Gurion, the founder of Israel, said, to believe in Israel, you have to believe in miracles. This is a land of miracles. The existence of Israel, the rebirth of Israel in 1948, Perry, who ever heard of such a thing? 2,000 years, the people of Israel were scattered across the globe just as the Bible said they would be. And then 2,000 years later, they returned to their ancestral homeland and reestablish a thriving state. I mean, just if that's not proof of God, I don't know what is.
Boy, well said. All right. Are we tracking any terrorists coming across our porous borders down with Mexico?
I am, Perry. I don't know if our administration is.
Good. Thank you.
Right? I mean, look, what can I say? This is an open invitation to terrorists to cross our southern border. You think ISIS isn't taking notes right now?
Yeah.
I mean, look, it's so porous. It's a dereliction of duty, I believe, on the part of our president. Without a doubt, you can't have a nation state if you don't enforce the borders and the laws of that nation state. And we're not doing it right now. The southern border is wide open. And I can tell you, Perry, over the past decade or so, Hezbollah operatives undoubtedly have crossed that border. Other jihadists have crossed that border. The number of other than Mexicans or OTMs that are crossing that border from the Middle East is increasing, from places like Yemen, Syria, Pakistan, Somalia. So, you hear that and you say, wow, it's tough to rest easy at night sometimes when you hear this kind of information. Of course, we have the Lord. Thank God we have the great protector. But we are setting ourselves up in this country for a major fall if we don't get it right in our foreign policy and with that southern border. And by the way, our border with Canada is huge. It's even bigger than that Mexican border. And that's largely unguarded as well.
Do you think the faith community is waking up to what's happening in Israel and our obligation to stand with them?
I think traditional pro-Israel evangelicals are energized right now about Israel, Perry, from what I'm seeing. Folks at CBN, theDove, and Kufi, Pastor Hagee, absolutely energized. I do worry, though, about two things. I worry about this new evangelical left, which is all about social justice, and everyone wants equality and justice, but in doing that, they take the Palestinian side and portray Israel as an oppressor. And they practice replacement theology, which basically says God is done with the Jewish people. Well, the Bible doesn't say that. So I worry about that. It seems to be creeping into evangelical circles, this growing evangelical left. They have a conference every year in Bethlehem called Christ at the Checkpoint, where it's a very pro-Palestinian type event, and some major left-wing evangelical leaders are there. I'm also worried, Perry, about young evangelicals. They're also very caught up in the social justice liberal narrative. And again, everyone wants equality and social justice, but look, we can't do that. We can't sacrifice the facts on the ground and the biblical facts in trying to attain that. So I worry about young folks as well. Polls show in this latest Israel-Hamas war that less and less young people under the age of 30, these millennials who we so need to reach, are supportive of Israel. So that's really concerning. A lot of young folks today, non-evangelicals, don't believe in the Bible. And they say, look, okay, Israel, you say Israel has a biblical mandate. Why should I care? I don't believe in the Bible. How do we reach those folks?
Yeah.
It's at the end of the day, Perry, it's a war of ideas, and we have to educate. That's our role.
Wow. Well, Erick, thanks for your time. I know you're slammed on your schedule. Thanks, pal. We value your partnership and your time greatly. Thanks for what you do. Keep an eye on it, buddy, and look forward to having you back many times. Yeah, I'd love to come on longer next time. I apologize. We'll pick up ISIS news today and everything, but next time we'll do it longer. And I hope to get after that new set eventually. You're going to be here. All right. Thanks, pal. God bless for what you do. God bless. Okay. Thank you. All right. Again, thank you for your endurance and patience as we were off the air an extra day. We didn't intend to be, but we're back on, and we are in our new facility, and we got a lot of work yet to do. Thank you so much for your patience. Thank you for your support. We do need it, especially coming through the summer and with this project in front of us. We'll pray about that, but here we go. All from the new Dove Media Center. Look forward to many days ahead in providing you with some great programming. We'll see you next time on Focus Today.
Hi, I'm Jim, and I work at theDove TV. Every weekday between 6 and 8 a.m., our award-winning news and sports team bring you the best morning show around. It's live, it's honest, and it's a whole lot of fun. And you help make it happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to air local programs that share your voice by making a secure online donation at our website, theDove.us.